So when you're faced with a chip shot around the green, it should be fun, it should be exciting, an opportunity to bring out your creativeness. But for many of my students that come and see me, this is a source of anxiety, nervousness and tension. And a recent student of mine, Tim, that was certainly the case. He stood over a chip shot like this and you could visibly see the level of stiffness and tension in. And what followed was the obvious fat shot or thin shot. So what I did with him is I shared with him a couple of concepts I'm going to share with you in this video. The first concept really basically got him out of tension. It got him, in a sense, making consistent contact time and time again. That helped him relax. He didn't get into the flag initially, but he was making solid contact. Once we got that nailed down, it opened up the door basically for us to then work on distance control as well, and also different shots around the green. In this video, I want to share with you what we did because I think it could help anybody, particularly yourself, if you're struggling with your chip shots around the green. Before I do though, look, if you're new to the channel, it's one of your first lessons of mine, please consider subscribing. I release videos just like this one every single week to try and help you improve your game. Plus, you never have to remember a thing. Whatever we do in this video, I'll put into a free downloadable practice guide in that description box below. So that is the shot we're going to learn today. The ball pops up, lands softly with a little bit of backspin. To do that, you need to understand how to consistently make contact first. Now, with Tim, this was a non-starter. With the level of tension that he had, it was no chance he was going to be able to play that shot. So we need to get consistent contact. I'm going to show you how we do that. The second thing I'm going to do is to show you then how we help Tim control his distance. And then the routine I gave, just a 5-second routine that you could take to the golf course that was going to work from different lies all around the green. So the first concept I taught Tim, and I want you to be aware of this, is depth control. Depth control is ultimately this. Here, when I'm swinging, the club is taking an arc. You see it's coming up, back down to, to a low point, and then coming up again. The problem is, with so many people are struggling, they are, in a sense, changing the depth. Sometimes they stand up and they thin it. Other times, which is a lot, they then start to fat it. They lower the arc down to the ground. The club strikes the ground way too early and they fat it. And then it's just a yo-yo. They start hitting a few dodgy fats. They get scared of the ground and now they start standing up in fear of fatting it. So with Tim, we got rid of the anxiety by ultimately controlling his depth first. We did this, first of all, in setup. I got his set up here, club width apart of the heels, toe pointing out towards the target here. I got his arm, just triceps resting on his chest, but just beautifully hanging downwards like this. I got him to place the club, the flat part of the club just on the ground, and let the arm just hang. Now, when he did this, he was naturally holding it roughly at the middle of the grip. I like the arms hanging because, let's say, for instance, they were like this and they had a little bit of bend in. So if there's a lot of bend in the arms, what's going to happen? We could extend and push the depth right under the ground again, the arc under the ground. So letting the arms hang is a really great way of, in a sense, helping control that depth. Then, unbelievably simple. All I did was get him to make some movements, getting him here to feel the base of the club bruising the ground. Now, occasionally he went and he hit the ground too hard. Occasionally he missed it. But ultimately, what he started to feel, he said, Danny, I really feel like I'm almost keeping my height and my chest almost away from the ground, and I'm just letting the club swing. That is how simple it was. Now, why is depth control super important? Well, it increases your margin of error. Look, watch this here. If I push that ball way forward, I could strike the ground 1 inch or 2 inches behind the golf ball. But if I'm, in a sense, controlling my depth here, I could still make some form of effort and actually advance that ball. I hit the ground almost 2 inches behind there, and I've still popped it up onto the green. That is because I've controlled my depth. So your margin of error really, really increases when you do that. So we got him hitting a few shots just doing that initially. Now that saw a lot of his tension start to disappear, but he was very, very inconsistent in terms of the ball flight. So he was controlling his depth, but he wasn't controlling his low point. His body was moving around a lot of the time. Now, the problem when you do that, you can control your depth. The problem is if I start to move backwards here, I'm going to add a lot of loft onto that club. That's going to send the ball off a little bit too high. And then if I'm doing that 1 minute, but then moving over here the next minute, now I'm taking loft away, the ball's going to shoot off like a rocket. No control over distance. So what I want you to imagine now is super simple. I said to him, look, imagine a box coming out of your left foot, your lead foot here, running up through your shoulder, going through your knee. And I want you to imagine looking after that box, keeping it completely intact. This would be not moving back here or doing stuff like this, where you kind of, in a sense, this bit stays in the box, this bit comes out of the box. I want you just to imagine a simple box. You control your depth, and now what we're going to do is we're going to keep that lead side inside that box all the time. Yeah. Now what this does is it manages where that club lands every single time. So it means that when the club lands here, it's going to have the same loft on the golf club time and time again. It's also going to give you a great deal of consistency. Now we didn't just stop there, right? So, because this is important. I've got a lot of weight. I've got about 60-70% of my weight over on this lead side. Now what I said to Tim was this: once that you've got that there, you don't need to move any more there. All you do from here is you look after that lead side, and look, all I'm going to do, watch this here, I am simply going to pivot around that lead side. So here I am, pivoting around. Notice how my knee isn't moving downwards. It's working, look, everything's working on an arc around that lead side. I can do that because I don't need to move forward anymore. All I have to do here is, look, pivot around. How simple is that? How simple is that? All I'm doing here is controlling depth and simply turning towards my target. Now clearly Tim didn't get this straight away. It took a bit of time, but the confidence was increasing. As it did, it allowed us then to adapt. So when you're around the short game, sometimes you want the ball to stop up quickly, sometimes you want it to release a little bit quickly. Now you can choose different golf clubs, or what you could do is keep it simple. I've got a 56 degree that I'm using here. Now what I'd said to Tim is, right, so we're going to move the ball now, Tim, right back in your stance. And we're going to show you this ball's now going to come off a little bit faster. This is great if the pin's a bit further on the green. So he said, look, do a practice swing. This is routine I gave him, 5-second routine, keeping it simple. Put the club out in front of you, let the club fall so both triceps rest here. This will make sure that you're not too tilted this way and too tilted this way. You're nice and level. Drop the club down here, really feel like you're kind of just on the surface of that the grass here. You're not right in deep in there, you're going to lower the arc, you're just resting on that surface. Now from here, all we're going to do is make some swings where you're just brushing the ground, you get a sense of depth control. Then all you're going to do from here is just pivot through the shot. Now I've moved the ball back in my stance. Watch what happens to this ball. This ball is going to come out a little bit lower, and it's going to release a little bit more. A lot more power, a lot more speed going into that shot. All I do, I don't change anything in my technique necessarily. All I'm going to do now, if I want to hit that ball to come out softer, is simply move that now, swap the feet around. I'm going to move that right off the front foot of my lead foot here. Now my action is not going to change whatsoever. All I've done is since move my ball forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch the ball slightly later in the arc. I might even catch the ground behind the golf ball a little bit on this one. That's going to get the ball coming off softer. I don't have to worry about fatting it because I'm controlling the depth. And I control where that lead side is here. And hey presto, nice little pivot through the shot, and away we go. Look at the height on that one. Ball pops up, lands softly, no difference in the technique whatsoever. All I've done is simply changed where the ball position is, and it creates two different shots. I don't think it can be any, excuse me, simpler than that. So I'm just going to show you really quickly what we gave him in rough lies, because you can get some awkward lies just on the edge of the green. Just show you the change you need to make there, but I promise you it's very little. So you can see here the ball's really nestled down. I still don't have a lot of green to work with here, and I'm still going to use my 56. I want to get used to one club, and that's what I said to Tim. Get used to one club before you start messing about with lots of other ones. I think it's just an easier way to learn the short game. So all I'm going to do here is what do we want? We want this ball to come off slowly. So if we want a ball to come off slowly, where do we put the ball position? That's right, forward in a stance. So we've set up forward. What I did with Tim, I gave him the 5-second routine. I said, look, what we're going to do is we're going to rest our triceps on our chest so our shoulders are nice and level. We're going to drop the club straight down. We're going to do the same principle, balls forward, but now we're going to do a few practice swings where we're focusing on, are you controlling the depth of the arc? Yeah, is it not going too deep? Not missing the ground, control the depth. Now on this one, when the ball's in the rough, I asked him to be a little bit braver. I say braver because for such a small shot, it requires a slightly longer swing because we're going to be catching the ground a little bit behind the golf ball. It's going to require a lot more energy in the golf club to come through. This does take a little bit of feel and practice, okay? So it's not like a one thing, you do try it once and it works straight away. You can get great contact, but you might struggle with distance control to start with, right? So we get ourselves set, we've controlled the depth, and then all we do from here, look, we don't need to move our weight forward, we're simply just gonna pivot. From this left box here, we are simply going to pivot through. Notice again, look how my knees, everything's working beautifully through to the target. Let's have a look at this in action. To get myself set over the golf ball, nice and simple. Hey presto. Simple as that. Now you'll notice on that one there how much longer my swing was to create that motion there. That is ultimately where the confidence and the kind of the assurity of this strike starts to come in. So it does require a bit of practice, but it's no different really to what we've just done. So I hope this gives you a great starting point. If you're struggling with chipping, you're getting anxious, I hope this builds that confidence up so you can start to really enjoy shots around the green. I've got lots more in the short game to cover, I know, but I thought this would be a wonderful starting point for you. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, maybe share it with one of your friends, and if you maybe want to look at bunker play next, check this video out right here. But until next week, have a wonderful golfing week.